Oh,
Good evening.
good evening. And how are you today, sir?
Well, after you, sir. That was very formal of you.
Thank you. I am very formal. I'm a formal gentleman.
You're a gentleman and a scholar.
I mean, neither of those are true, but let's move on. So how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing.
It was a really good idea, I thought, to ferment dough before I started work this morning.
Oh, what happened?
Well, I got up at 3 a.m.
You didn't.
Yes, and then it's actually quite a curious experience because, of course, you mix dough, which takes a little bit of time, and then set a timer for an hour, go back to sleep, and then that happened 4 times. So I kept on waking up going, "Oh, what's going on?"
Wow.
So I have a strange recollection that something happened this morning, and there are so many loaves in the fridge waiting to bake tomorrow morning.
So that's a true story. Something did happen. So
Yeah.
are you at the point in your baking life where you're moderately autopiloting?
Well, I'm doing a thing today, which I'll find out tomorrow, where I'm proving them for, well, pretty much 24 hours in the fridge. And I've only tried that once with 2 loaves. Mm-hmm. So tomorrow could be, I'm pretty confident it's a really good thing to do. So that's a long way. I'm still doing lots of experimenting, but I'm more confident in my experimenting, put it that way.
So you're selling your experiments.
That's exactly right. Exactly.
I love that for you. I love it.
Well, tomorrow we might see. It might, yeah. I mean, I wonder if I think I've already had a really bad one. A few weeks ago. So I think that was a pretty low bar, and so it would have to be pretty bad for them not to even reach that level.
What happened?
Wow, talk about selling. People be really like, "Oh, I've got to try that bread." What happened in the bad one?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think I'd knocked the thermostat on. This is on my regular fridge, not the new fridge, which is, its only function in life is to cool down bread, is to retard bread in my regular fridge. And I think I knocked the thermostat so they weren't, basically it was a warm fridge, and the bread just sort of exploded in the baskets because wasn't slowing down there. Wasn't doing the retarding. And so I had to sort of slop these loaves onto the peels to get them into the oven. But, something came out.
I'm probably better than many people have experienced because I know that your bread is super.
You haven't tasted my bread in years, Lee Miller.
No, that's true. I haven't. I mean, I'm perfectly willing to have some FedExed over to me. I don't know why I said that, because it would be DPD in this country, wouldn't it? It wouldn't really be Federal Express. It's rare that we use that as a company. Yeah,
you were basically using it as a catch-all, like
I was,
like a vacuum cleaner, a Hoover, or
a Hoover. I think though I would like to shift towards. I'd happily have it DPD'd to me.
Would you?
There we go. Yeah,
that's that will become a very expensive loaf of bread, wouldn't it?
Well, I assume it was a gift.
Yeah, not the postage and packaging though.
Oh, you're the worst kind of gift giver. Here, I've got you this present. You just have to pay for the postage and packaging, also for the ingredients, and perhaps for the electricity, but not for my time.
I would totally send you a loaf of bread. Any listeners, if they would like a loaf of bread, I'm happy to ship.
He doesn't mean that. He doesn't mean it.
Hi, Jeffrey.
No, that was me drinking iced water.
I thought that was you shaking your head to.
No, that was me drinking iced water. I've discovered the joy of ice in water.
Have you? All our American listeners will be just like rolling their eyes.
I know. Well, you can keep your eye rolling.
Yankees?
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not being pulled into your hate speech. I'm just going to go with you keep your eye rolling.
Can you hum the tune to Dixie? Anyway, sorry, go on.
Simon. About 2 hours ago, I was drunk.
But now you're not.
No, I finished a day of work, and it was like all of these days, it feels like at the moment. It was a hard day of work. And I got to about 5:15 and decided I'll start making dinner. I'll just sweat off some onions and some garlic. Oh, I'll just deglaze the pan with some wine. Oh, I've opened some wine. I'll just have a glass of wine. And so I had a glass of wine and then took the beginnings of a ragu off the stove because Bob sent me a text saying, "Could you help me carry some stuff up from Morrison's?" Me and Jeffrey made quite a spectacle of ourselves walking down the high street. And by me and Jeffrey, I mean I made
Jeffrey
a spectacle
wasn't
of myself.
drunk, was he?
No, Jeffrey was just going, "Oh, Lee, can you pull yourself together? People are staring at me." And I'm a Dalmatian. People stare a lot, but even that is too much.
Were you pulling focus?
I was pulling focus from a Dalmatian, so that gives you an indication of how
you know what
silly
Dalmatians say. You know what dogs and animals say when they're walking down the street. Just whatever it is, just don't go on stage with a drunk human. They'll always upstage you.
And that is exactly what happened. But then it turns out I lost my buzz. I'm no longer drunk. I'm a bit disappointed because I only had one glass of wine, and now I've eaten because I did drink a glass of wine whilst cooking on an empty stomach. Terrible idea.
Actually, I dragged a colleague out of work today, kicking and screaming. In fact, one of my, strange term, direct reports. Oh,
God. How many direct reports do you have?
I actually don't know. Maybe 5.
Oh, my God. You are so important.
Yeah, I'm assistant professor. No, associate. I never know what my...
Associate professor is your title.
Associate, thank you. Associate professor important. That's what I am. Yes, I dragged her, kicking and screaming, out of her work, and we went to the little bar around the corner, and that was at 2:30, and I had a pint of beer.
And did she join you in a pint of beer?
No, not at all. I'm not going to. Even if she
water.
did, I wouldn't dob. I'm not a dobber.
Oh my God! Drinking during the workday, is that dobbing? I don't know, because I was at a conference in Italy, and I think I said that wine was served with every meal.
Yeah, the Italians, they
breakfast.
love. Yeah, they would have a caffè corretto for a corrected coffee for breakfast.
They wouldn't. What do you correct it with?
Grappa.
Oh, okay, right. So, in rural Portugal, the equivalent would be popping in and pretending you're having a piece of fruit, but really you're having a little glass of firewater.
Yes, well, they actually just add it. A little shot to your coffee, to your espresso.
Yeah, you follow it up with the espresso. Beaker, if we're going to be.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I went home to a massive pile of dishes.
Of bread-related dishes? Or...
Yeah.
Okay, just checking that you hadn't suddenly become terribly slack.
But what was interesting, though, was that I could basically got a regular night's sleep while having fermented 12 loaves of bread and then had it finished by 9 a.m.
Wowzers. Wow.
I mean, interesting for me. Perhaps not interesting for our listeners. Perhaps you should just cut the shit out.
Yeah, if we cut this shit out, though, that's like, 9 minutes worth of talking that I'm going to have to work out.
I should say that there's a little bit of... I've got a little bit of two announcements.
Is this feedback-based announcements or just announcements in general? Oh,
no, one is
Christ.
kind of feedback. Actually, it's a correction from a listener.
Oh shit! What did I get wrong?
No, it was me. Episode 127, The New Zealand That Existed No Longer Exists. My sister Susan Ellis would like to say that she also lived in Belgium and also some months in India. So I sold her short where I talked of the countries she'd lived in. She wanted to mention that there were a couple more.
Okay, so she is a proper globetrotter.
Exactly, whilst you and I are just merely, I don't know, Not even trans-hemispheric.
I'm barely. I mean, God, I've barely left the end of our road. I'm nothing compared to you lot.
Well, it's those Antipodeans, us Antipodeans. There's always somewhere better. And the other thing is that Finn update, he went to university, moved to up north today, and he will be spending his first night in a halls of residence, or a flat, or whatever they call it in this country.
Ooh, now what university has he chosen? I don't think I realised.
The University of Leeds.
Well, I never. I was an
never
external
what?
examiner. I never knew he was going there. I was an external examiner for 4 years at Leeds. It's a lovely place.
Yes, that's what the person who you were externally examining for said to me.
What?
The person who said, well, the person, our common friend there.
Our common friend
At
who yeah. She was not. She was not at Leeds when I was the external.
Oh, right. Okay.
She got the job.
I sold you short.
No, you just made me younger than I am. That's I managed
That's actually
to do
my
4
role
years
in
before
life.
she got the job to make me feel young.
Yes.
Well, I mean, always, because you're older than me. Until you're not. Sorry, I just realised I was going to say until you die.
Yeah, and then
I'll
you
catch
might
up.
overtake me. It's quite possible.
But I might go before you.
I mean, that will episode 583. Lee becomes older than Simon. Finally. Oh,
what?
did you get a message? Or was that me?
I think it's you. I haven't got any.
I don't normally have a.
Who's your
my
message from?
I don't know. Do you want me to look? Shall I look?
Yeah, look, and
Right,
I'll have
okay.
a drink of water in the meantime. Might be something good.
Oh, it's about some dancing with a friend.
Oh, professional dancing, or are you going to a club?
The former,
Ah,
like
right.
setting up like dancing dates.
Is this Italian dancing dates?
No, it's in Coventry dancing dates. CDDs they're called.
CDDs, yeah, I've heard about those. You can apply for funding to go to a CDD, can't you?
Yes, I'm a
And
little
then
bit wary
Simon
of applying for.
will DPD you over a pair of shoes made of bread.
Tell me.
Have you ever thought about making dancing shoes out of bread? Just
I'm
pretend
sure.
I
I'm
didn't
sure
listen
there's
to
an
this.
entire Instagram account dedicated to dancing shoes made out of bread.
Okay.
I'm
Tell me.
sure.
You were going to say, tell me. So ask me the tell me.
Well,
question.
tell me. I had a bit of feedback from kind of in passing. Someone said it's a labour of love, isn't it?
Making bread?
No. Well, actually, that's been said. I've heard someone say that as well. But no, this podcast, a labour of love.
Well, we're not getting lawyer money, so it must be for the joy.
But the labour bit, it's weird.
Oh, okay. I'm a little bit conflicted.
Are you going to talk about the
these.
patriarchy again?
I'm actually going to be, for the first time in my life, I might not. I might be on the, whisper it,
Shh.
other side.
What's the other side?
The wrong side of history.
Oh,
Because I, every now and then...
stop
I know,
the presses.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, you've done so well up to now. I mean, you
I know,
really
but
have.
this is the moment that I'm going to get cancelled, and I think it's because I come from, as you know, a long line of.
Is cancel
working-
culture still a thing? Just as a little insert there.
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Hasn't somebody just been cancelled recently?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't really work though, does it? Because people get. I don't know if cancel culture is a thing, but I think it is. Anyway, it probably will apply to me.
Great.
Bob has just come and shut the door. I think that means that she's bored of listening to me from the other room.
The fact that you even have the door open blows my mind.
Sorry, Bob. You are not disturbing me. I think it's the other way around. She just said, I just want to watch TV and I didn't want to disturb you. Bearing in mind she watches television with headphones on, so I'm pretty confident that it's me who's disturbed.
Maybe she's just anxious about you being cancelled.
Yeah, she's shutting the door so she doesn't have to hear what I'm about to say.
Oh
so
yeah,
she
the
doesn't
wrong
have to
side of
cancel me.
history. She's been fostering you, guiding you through that incredible.
Keeping me on the right side.
Yeah, of the right side of history.
Yeah, and I'm going to fuck it all up right now. So
Mm-hmm. Here we go.
Okay, so you know I'm from a long line of working class Northerners.
I have heard.
So the idea of labour is something that I understand more through their bodies than through my bodies, but the idea of being tired and sort of wrung out and just that sense of really, really having to work to put food on the table.
Yeah. That was also physically demanding.
That was incredibly... I mean, bearing in mind my grandmother worked in service in a big house, you know.
Right, so she was downstairs.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Upstairs, downstairs. Yeah, right.
Yeah. She started life as a scullery maid. So she's, you know, you don't get
Sorry,
more...
so can you say those words again?
Yes, she started life, as in working life, not as in being born, but she started her working life as a scullery maid.
Scullery maid.
So basically, that's the person who does all the shittest jobs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's... right.
Yeah. And then she eventually made her way up to housekeeper. So which is the top job.
The top of the downstairs.
The top... Well, yeah. To make her way to the top of the upstairs, she'd have to marry a duke or something, and then we wouldn't be having this conversation. I'd be sitting in a country pile somewhere, which didn't happen.
But next week.
So and you know so that's on my mum's side. On my dad's side, my granddad was a wheelwright, so he made wheels for horses and carts.
Wow.
Because that's, bearing in mind he was born in the 1800s. He's
wheelwright.
A wheelwright, yeah. So my dad's old, and he was the youngest of an old man's family.
Well, it doesn't. It just. I mean, I think we've said this before. It doesn't take very long to get, two generations.
Yeah,
back
two
in the
generations.
1800s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I can't remember.
Cars,
if it was 18.
flying.
Yeah. Oh
Radio?
God, yeah. So, I think he...
Apple Watches?
I know, it's all ridiculously future-y, isn't it? And during the Second World War, my dad's mum worked in the munitions factory, which is like one of those really dangerous jobs for women to take. So all of that sense of working and working hard is something that was taken seriously. And so when I hear people talking about emotional labour...
Oh, I hear you crossing the tracks here.
Yeah, I have a moment where it's not about wanting to diminish the complexity of people's lives, but I find that it's the use of the word labour that I struggle with. I think it's complicated. There you go. I just got cancelled.
Yeah. So I wonder who I should... which is a surprise, because I just assumed it was going to be me first. Although you've done your very best to protect me over these years of just cutting out the really bad bits.
I mean, again, I could cut this out, but I suspect it would be a very short episode. And also, I don't want to, because I don't think what I'm saying is, how dare people use that word, or I don't believe in it, because neither of those statements are accurate. I fully understand the plasticity of language and the fact that it shifts and changes. It was your questioning about, is this a labour of love, and is labour the right word? And kind of thinking, oh, well, actually labour is a word that for me is freighted with a particular meaning that I actually struggle with a lot, which I don't think is the same as saying I don't believe that people are experiencing emotional labour. I don't think that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure. It's just, it's a weird one, though, in a way, because I'm just about to join you on the wrong side of history, I suspect. But what's it like over there, just before
I mean, the water's fine. Come on in.
I think it's something where I think it's the word conjures up, for me, the word labour conjures up. Basically, it conjures up physical toil, physical effort. And so even the idea that even if if someone's labouring over something, I mean, of course, we're using it, it effectively becomes a metaphor, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And so we're using the metaphor of physical effort for in places where it isn't taking physical effort. But I guess it sticks with me in a similar way, but not for different reasons. For certainly for different reasons, that there's something about the visibility of if I place these two things together in a way that you weren't doing, and I'm treading a little bit carefully here, which is the visibility of physical labour and the invisibility of emotional labour, which of course is part of the issue with it, right? The idea that someone's doing all this work that is not even visible and not even obvious to be, hence calling it emotional. So there's something about that difference which is rattles around in my brain a little bit.
I think perhaps, yeah. I think the rattling is maybe what I'm having, and again, I don't think we're standing in the same place having this conversation. I think your rattle is different to my rattle, but I think the idea of physical labour, because I remember when you were planting the trees.
Oh yeah.
And you talked about the joy of using your body and how you could imagine that would be a worthwhile and wonderful thing to do. And I was a little bit spicy with you and going, it's really easy for somebody who works with their brain to be able to say, oh, I would love to do this.
Yes,
which is not the tone you took. I was extrapolating and sort of doing a little bit of projection, because I know my parents worked really hard to ensure that I didn't have to get my hands dirty.
Yes, although I did have after that episode, the husband of a colleague of mine said, "That's the work I do, and I love it." That kind of hard physical labour every day in gardens. So there was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know the lived experience of that person, but I also know, my cousin worked on the road crews,
in the middle of the night.
Exactly. Yeah. And, when he gets put on motorways rather than on A roads, he gets danger money. And I know that he would give anything to not have to do that work. That hard physical work. So it's as I say, I don't know the narrative of your colleague's husband and whether or not he had choices available to him that allows him to effectively find joy in those moments because he opted to do that. But I can tell you that my cousin absolutely doesn't have those options available to him. Yeah, so that was the work he was able to get. And so that sense of, he would willingly trade for an inside quiet job that didn't require danger.
But this is not it's actually, as I understand it, this is not a question of the physical effort involved. It's about whether the degree of agency or choice that someone's had in choosing a job. Which is a whole, because in a way it wouldn't matter if the only job I could get was inside sitting in a computer, etc., and that it becomes laborious in a way that I suspect our jobs are not. It's hard to classify them as labour in that same way because of the extraordinary autonomy. It's partly why I can't stand academics bitching about how bad things are, because the extraordinary autonomy of being an academic still. I've never worked in an office. I have no concept of what it's like to work in an office and be subjected to those kinds of, quote unquote, humiliations. Although a lot of universities are having a good shot at it.
Yeah, and I think that's it. And maybe, maybe that's why the blanket use of a phrase like emotional labour is really where I struggle. Whereas if I was having a conversation with somebody like, if I was actually having a conversation with a friend who's a person of colour who was talking about the emotional labour of having to constantly hold her white friend's expectations of her and kind of hold their anxieties about her racialized position within the world, and talking about just the exhaustion that she could experience from that. Whilst at the same time being super anxious that I was doing exactly the same thing while I was having that conversation with her. And so I think that kind of mental exhaustion is a complete, is absolutely analogous to the kind of exhaustion that my grandmother might have experienced.
Yeah. Yeah. Also definitely not by choice.
Yeah.
Which is hence the labour of love thing. Really, it's just so odd, because we could just stop. Should we stop now?
And so really what we're talking about here is the complexity of language and how its plasticity sometimes doesn't necessarily serve, because one person will use a word that will land on another person and just make them go, but you don't mean that. Where absolutely that's what they mean, but because it just doesn't, the word doesn't resonate because it's been smoothed over a little bit too much. So it's got slippery, like a bar of soap in the shower.
Yes, and
you're thinking.
Yeah, sorry.
Are you thinking about?
I'm just. Yeah, where's the soap?
Simon. It does, doesn't it?
I'm so sorry. The funny thing about that joke, when I first heard it, I reckon I was 18, and it just passed me by. Everyone laughed, and I went, oh, I don't get it, and. Yeah. Years later, I went, I think I even whacked my forehead, like thinking, how is it possible that I didn't understand that, didn't get? I love that word get that we use in English in that response. You get it.